question of returning to college to finish an education. That's a significant one.
A new program is launching across 3 Nebraska state colleges designed to help you complete your degree and achieve your academic goals. First Alert 6, Andrew Pfeiffer shows us who is eligible and how you can apply.
They started on that path, they had a goal, but they didn't finish.
It's a decision that many people quietly consider. Should I go back to college and finish my education?
They had a vision for themselves, a goal, and life happened. And we all know that things come up that get in our way. We have obstacles that are in front of us.
For 315,000 Nebraskans, a new program encourages them to return to the classroom.
In early 2026, we will start the process and start reaching out to folks.
Reengage Nebraska is working with the Nebraska State College System to get former students to finish their degrees. If you attend Wayne, Chadron, or Peru State, you might get a phone call around January.
Most of these are adults that are working with children and families and balancing a lot.
Ruth Bauer is the president of Inside Track, the nonprofit running the program.
You're going to get results quicker. You're going to get folks who can graduate in a short period of time.
Well, education has to be part of the solution to this.
Dr. Matthew Hastings has followed Nebraska's labor market for years.
There simply are not enough young people moving out of Nebraska's education pipeline in order to fill some of these open positions.
Many jobs that are understaffed include positions like teaching, nursing, accountants, and other roles that require a higher level of education.
We ultimately can't come up with a workforce solution to the challenges that I talked about here in Nebraska unless education is right at the center of the conversation.
He says getting students back in the classroom can improve Nebraska's economy.
It's about helping young people get the education that they need to be able to move into these occupations.
In Omaha, Andrew Pfeiffer, First Alert 6.
And we're told Inside Track has already helped more than 3.5 million students finish their degrees.